Hello, my name is Anna, and for my podcast presentation, I chose the podcast A Neuroscientist Explains, an episode titled How the Brain Stores Memories. So our host, Dr. Daniel Glazier, had a guest this week named Dr. Charlotte Russell. So at the very beginning, the host brought up the question of just how different is the human mechanisms for storing memory than the mechanisms for memory storage in a computer hard drive. So he kind of elaborated on this example by using the physical damage to a computer hard drive to erase data with the use of a pin or a needle. He kind of compared it loosely to age and graceful degradation, which we discussed in class, but it was discussed a little bit further in the podcast. And the way that I gleaned it was the gradual decay of smaller memories at the beginning. So like the day after you have a memorable event, you start to lose the smaller memories, such as the faces of somebody's dress that you really liked, or you remember somebody's face, but you can't remember what dress they were wearing. You can't remember stuff with the walls, or you can't remember full people in general, until the entire memory ends up just disappearing. So after this kind of breakdown of graceful degradation, we kind of break down the two main categories of memory, which is procedural memory, which, as we learned it in lecture, is implicit memory, and explicit memory. So we're going to focus in a little more on explicit memories. So explicit memories are further broken down into semantic and episodic memory. Semantic memories are described as factual in nature, such as the capital of Virginia, or which president was president in 2022. Episodic memories are based in experiences and events that have personal context or some kind of personal attachment to them. So episodic memories are easier to form because of that emotional context that you have. That personal connection you have allows your brain to remember it a little bit easier. However, this is the first to go as you age. There's more evidence that this episodic memory decays as you age. Versus with semantic memory, it's actually been shown and discussed a little bit in the podcast that it's possible that it can increase with age, but they are harder to form, semantic memories, because they're factually based. As the conversation progresses, Dr. Daniel and Dr. Charlotte end up talking about the inability to recall memories. And Dr. Daniel ends up trying to recall one of his memories. So instead of talking about his memory and his recollection, I'm going to try and compare my memory recall from the same kind of prompt of a high school sporting event. So as Dr. Daniel was reporting his memory, he kind of went about it in the same way that I hear most of my friends report memories, is a very almost linear fashion. So you start with one main point and then you kind of pull at it. And as you pull at it, you start to get the rest of the story. So with memories, it was similar to when you think of football field green, like that lawn, that turf. Then you start to think of different football memories from that. So then you think of the smell, or then you can think of the last time you were pushed onto the turf, or the last time that you had to play on the turf while it was wet. Something like that. It pulls at a memory. So on the opposite end of it, I feel like, so on the opposite end of that, like gradual pulling of a memory, I feel like my memories come at me all at once and in a very disorganized way. So I have ADHD, and I have a couple of little pictures to kind of show you to demonstrate what I'm trying to explain. So with ADHD, I feel like it's really difficult to consolidate my memories and my thoughts, even more so than the normal neurotypical person. So with ADHD, this first picture I have here is kind of showing somebody that has everything kind of separated out into nice little jars, versus somebody with ADHD, they're not separated, they're everywhere. But what I really like is this next one, the very linear non-ADHD storytelling versus the ADHD storytelling. This reminded me immediately of when I was trying to decide how computer hard drives would save something. It was a very linear process. It would go to a server and that's where it would stay. Versus the human ability to recall memory looks a lot more like the ADHD storytelling, except the ADHD storytelling is a lot more all over the place. And that's kind of what I mean by everything all at once. So when I'm telling a story or when I'm recalling on something, instead of being able to control my thoughts and like list them out in order, I start stopping mid-sentence and starting a new sentence because it's all happening at once. And I just thought that that was a really interesting dynamic that wasn't really kind of discussed. Not that I really expected them to, but it made me really appreciate the final answer of bringing it back to the conversation of what is the difference between humans and computers with the hard drives and memory storage systems. I feel like with humans, you can't control so much more of it. I do agree with what they were saying with how we can't combine our memories like computers can. We can't consolidate them and make them fit into small boxes. They fit into everything all at once. Thank you.